Truth and Justice is a brand new series of DC digital comics that I've been meaning to give a look on the channel for a long time now, and what better chance to do so with issues 10 and 11 because they just so happen to be from Jeff Trammell, aka the man behind Craig of the Creek, one of the best, funniest, most creative cartoons on Cartoon Network right now. This story deals with Jason Todd the Red Hood, so without further ado, let's hop on in together and find out what happens next, shall we? So then, these Truth and Justice books happen outside continuity, and they're meant to be picked up and enjoyed by pretty much everyone. Because of that, we get a quick little recap of Jason Todd's history as the Red Hood. First, he was a street kid toughing it out in the hard part of Gotham, you know, the harder part of Gotham. His life changed forever when he tried to steal the wheels off the Batmobile, but instead of getting sent to juvie, the Dark Knight decided to take the kid under his wing and make him his unfortunately, tragically doomed sidekick. This story actually adds a brand new wrinkle to this story that you and I know oh so well. Apparently, Jason actually had a little friend and run-in buddy back during his days as a street urchin. This guy's name is Max Dawkins, and as Jason tells it, he was actually stealing the wheels off the Batmobile that fated night to try and get a little money together for himself and his spiritual street brother. In fact, even after Jason got himself adopted by rich Bruce Wayne, Jason still actively tried to look over Max from the shadows and help him out along the way, so much to the point he was able to actually get off the streets. Unfortunately, as with much of the Red Hood's life, the world had a rather tragic curveball to throw his way. Max is dead in an alley from an apparent heroin overdose. Jason refuses to believe it though and thinks this whole thing stinks, especially as Max's own father was a junkie himself and Max swore never to end up like his old man. Using the expert detective tricks taught to him by his surrogate father Batman, Red Hood goes to work trying to unravel this case and find what the police could not, mainly that the body was dragged to where it was. From there, Jason very easily manages to beat on the local thugs and rent-a-goons to find out that they were hired to do the job by some doctor. Obviously, that's not a lot to go on in Gotham City when half the villains are doctors. Turns out Max was killed in the first place, all in an attempt to try and get Red Hood's attention by the Scarecrow. Man, you know, it's funny, Red Hood is fighting the Scarecrow here in this out-of-continuity comic, and in the Batman Urban Legends comic in continuity, he is also fighting the Scarecrow. Jonathan Crane is just getting around big this year. As he so often does, Jason lets his rage get the best of him and ends up getting too close to Scarecrow, who doses him with some fear toxin. At first, it doesn't work, Jason's saying that the funny thing about when you die is there's really not much left in the world to make you scared anymore. Though personally, I like to imagine this was Jason just talking a big game in front of the supervillain. Eventually, he does start hallucinating, and his great fear takes the form of a demonic Batman talking about how disappointed he is in him. Which really, is that a great fear or just a day that ends in Y for Jason Todd? He also ends up getting smacked in the face with a crowbar, not unlike the one that helped the Joker end his life all that time ago. When Jason comes to, he ends up finding himself in a very Kill Bill situation, buried alive in a grave not unlike the one he dug himself out of when he first came back to life originally. And it's there that issue 11 actually begins. Jason's not worried, figuring that he can easily break out of this grave situation with all of his gear. The only problem is he doesn't have it anymore. Or he's just tripping so badly on fear toxin he doesn't see his gear anymore. He has quite literally regressed back to when he first came back to life. And I mean, hey, Red Hood clawed his way out of the grave once before, so what's stopping him from doing it a second time? Also, eagle-eyed readers will surely notice all the wonderful little allusions, both to the original resurrection of Red Hood's story, but also some Kraven's Last Hunt stuff thrown in there too for spice. Jason makes his way out of the grave just fine, but his bad trip isn't over yet as he still needs to face more of his fears, the next one actually being personified by Dick Grayson of all people. Yeah, I know Nightwing doesn't seem that scary, but for Jason, Dick will always represent a fear of failure, a fear of never measuring up and not being nearly as good a son. Of course, if you know Jason at all, he battles with these feelings of inequity all the time, and as such, it's not hard for him to eventually power through it. The next challenge, though, may be a little bit more difficult. You see, Phantom Hallucination Batman ends up calling up a bunch of different versions of the Robins throughout history, as well as different versions of Jason himself. Again, it's a nice bit of visual storytelling. Jason is the sort of person who only fears fear itself, and because fear lives inside our own hearts, we need to overcome and defeat ourselves if we ever want to overcome fear. And what weapon does Jason choose to overcome these manifestations of his own darker inner feelings? Well, a crowbar, naturally, duh. Crowbars are basically his kryptonite no matter what continuity or universe we're in, don't you know? Sadly though, despite making all these great strides and breakthroughs, Red Hood still has one last challenge to overcome, the one last secret fear that always keeps him up at night in the back of his mind, the fear of what he might become, and that being, well, the Joker, the man who killed him. And so that was Truth and Justice issue number 10 and number 11, everybody. I'm glad that I chose to make this the first story I actually checked out in the Truth and Justice series. They're pretty good, really meaty. And at the low price of 99 cents a pop, it's a great bargain, too. Now, I always knew Trammell was a good writer from his other work, and he clearly has a love and admiration for Jason Todd. But he also doesn't let himself get too clouded by that same love and admiration. Yes, Jason is rough around the edges. Yes, he can kind of be a dick, but he's not so horribly unredeemable. Or spends too much time blaming other people for his many problems, a hole that I feel a lot of writers end up accidentally falling into. If you're an old-timey Red Hood fan, I think you're going to enjoy this, and if you have any younger comic book fans in your life who would like to pick up the character, this is probably a really good entry point, as it covers a lot of Jason's history in a very short amount of time. Overall, I'd give this one a very positive 8 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.